I think there are a lot of people who look at Christianity, who look at Catholicism, and all they can think about is the rules. Because you look at the Bible, and among other things, it spends a good deal of time telling us what we should do and what we shouldn't do. And then we have another book, the Catechism, which among other things tells us what those sections about what we're supposed to do or not do mean for us in practical terms. But I think if you reduce Christianity just to a set of rules, you've missed the point. When people get behind the wheel of a motorized vehicle, of a car, a truck, whatever it might be, we all have the intention of getting where we want to get to safely. The reason why we have different laws and different rules of the road is to help that exactly happen. When we look at religion, we know that the great commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength. And the second great commandment is to love your neighbor as yourself. But we don't always know what that looks like, so God spells it out for us in the 10 Commandments. Now, I get it. You're already looking at this and saying, oh, he's just going to talk about what the rules are. Well, think about this. Some of you who play sports, there can be hundreds of rules in sports. But what happens is because you love this sport, it doesn't matter. You learn the rules, you learn to do it the best that you can. You do all of these things so you can find the most joy or the most life from this sport. Well, this is where the words of the YouCat come in handy, because the YouCat looks at it and says, Christianity is more than a correct life in keeping the commandments. Being a Christian is a living relationship to Jesus. A Christian unites himself deeply and personally with the Lord, and with him sets out on the way that leads to true life. I mean, think about this. If we can look at driving and say, all right, those rules make sense, or we can look at a sport and say, all right, those rules make sense. Well, how much more important is it to have certain guidelines or certain expectations when it comes to relationships? I have those expectations laid on me in all sorts of relationships. In my marriage, in my life as a father, in my friendships, in my job as chaplain to Evergreen Catholic Schools. In every role I take on, there are certain expectations laid out for me. And sometimes there are expectations that are really easy. I'm married, therefore I don't date other people. I wouldn't imagine it. But sometimes there are other things that maybe need a little bit more work or a little bit more spelling out for us. Take the 8th commandment. Thou shalt not bear false witness against your neighbor. Don't lie. I think all of us know intrinsically that lying is wrong. But I'm willing to bet that all of you who are watching this video probably have at least once at some point in time told a lie. And maybe you told the second one to cover up the first one. And maybe you told a whole bunch more to cover up those first 2 lies, because sometimes at a certain point these get away on us. The reason why we have the laws, the reason why we have these rules is specifically for these moments. To teach us how to be Christian, to teach us how to follow Jesus, but ultimately to teach us how to live in right relationship with him. And the good news has always been, even though we all screw this up sometimes, God's mercy, God's forgiveness is abundant. We just have to go and ask. It's the great gift of the sacrament of reconciliation. We screw up, we realize we've screwed up, we can say sorry, we can know we're forgiven, and we can start over again. We can try to do better the next time. If you look at Christianity and see it simply as a list or a collection of rules, you've missed the point. You've missed something tremendously significant. Because what these rules are meant to do is they're meant to point us towards being in right relationship with God, being in right relationship with our neighbor. And at a certain point, being able to get to the point where we can just say, is this the thing that will help me grow closer to God? And if it's not, we don't do it. Is this a thing that's going to put me in right relationship with my neighbor? And if it doesn't, we don't do it. Just like the rules in sports lead you to enjoy the fullness of what that sport can be, or the rules of the road help you to get where you're going safely. The rules the church gives us, the rules that God has given us, lead us to life to the full.